We're back. It's a new What's in My Drawers golf talk. Lots to talk about. We see Mr. Vrska over here on the other side, plus all the other things that are going on in the McGolf shop. So let's stay tuned to that. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers golf talk. Why is it What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers, club fitters are tremendous pack rats. It's about what was in the shop, and it's turned into a tremendous golf community just question answer session, and we're just keeping with it. And we're kind of starting a tradition, and Mr. Vrska is helping us get it kicked off. We are going to have more and more guests that are in the industry so that you guys can either ask the questions or listen to us talk about golf stuff and its equipment, fittings, repairs, opinions, the whole 9 yards, right? And that's what we're going to do. So first, like we always do, congratulations to Mr. Scotty for winning the waste management. John Rahm gave him a run for his money, and so did Nick Taylor, but he grounded out and ended up winning. It was actually a pretty neat little golf tournament. I was pretty impressed with it. Also, we have the pictures for what we sent out. It's just going to be easier if I tell you this time around, but we sent some golf clubs, some Touras to Maryland. We sent a hybrid to Connecticut. We sent some Mizunos out, and another one was to Florida. And so we've had a lot going out, and as many boxes that went out today, as many boxes came in for us to work on. So including a lot of golf balls from Callaway. So we are stocked up, ready to rock and roll. So that's where we're at with that one. So what we do, Mike, is normally we get kind of a topic, and today is we're going to talk more in the lines of fitting, and it works out because of what Mr. Vrska does over there in Callaway. But when doing the fittings this week, a thing became readily apparent that the length of the golf club becomes paramount to consistency and well struck golf balls. Now, if you're a person that's very, very accomplished, could you work around it? Sure. Most of the people are not. And finding that right length, whether it be driver, irons, putters, doesn't matter, allow you for a more consistent swing or a more constant swing, more constant ball striking in order to allow you to play your best golf. And case in point, that's what the video that we're releasing tomorrow is going to be about. It's kind of an epiphany move on my part. I was reviewing some irons, and they were a half-inch long, and I couldn't believe how poorly I was striking them. I was like, gee, man, Christmas, what is going on here? Well, I do a measurement, and I realize that they're a half-inch long. So I come back in and choke down, and it's literally a half a club to 3/4 of a club difference in the and just basically quality of the hit. So when you guys go out there and you do these fittings, you know, this needs to be one of those things that you want to look at to make sure, because it's just not how tall you are, right? It's not how tall you are. It's how long your arms can be. It's the posture that you take when you're at address. It's the swing plane that you're on. All these go in and they add their variables that add up to the proper length for you. Okay. That's where I wanted to get with this one, because it happened to me, right? That's the whole reason why I point this way, because that's where my fitting area is at. and it did, and it makes a difference, and I've got it documented. So we'll see that in the video tomorrow. So hopefully you guys get to take care of all that. All righty. So if you would, let me allow Mr. Vrska. Mr. Vrska works for Callaway, all right? And we've known each other, at least 2 jobs, or at least, well, what? It's going on many years. We'll just go many years.
Yeah, definitely double-digit years. I've lost track, but I know it's. I know we've reached the double-digit stage. So
yeah, and Mr. Vrska has a very accomplished background. When I tell you that he knows what he's talking about, this is no joke. So if you don't, Michael, just tell him who you are, what you do, and where you're at.
Well, thank you. So I am Micheal Vrska. My current title is I'm Director of Custom Fitting and Player Performance for Callaway Golf. I've got over 23 years in the golf industry now. So this is my third major golf company that I've been at. Spent the first 18 years of my career designing golf clubs. I'm very proud to have a number of patents and PGA Tour wins and major wins of clubs that I had was instrumental or led the team in designing. Then did a couple of years, kind of some sales and marketing and consulting, and then the last 3.5 have been at Callaway, focused on custom fitting and player performance. And really, and just to kind of narrow that down, because it's a 48-word title that barely fits on a business card, but what I'm looking at is what is the next thing in fitting? What does fitting look like in 6 months, 12 months, 48 months? And what else can we do to help a golfer besides just, hey, here's the right shaft and here's the right loft of your driver and here's the right length of your 7-iron. But what else can we do to help the golfer perform their best? So I work a lot with our R&D group. I work with our sales and marketing group. I dabble in tour. Now we have an amazing tour staff. They do, I want to be crystal clear, all of the heavy lifting. But I do have great discussions with them about different players and different products, and how do we fit the best players in the world, and how does that translate to fitting less than the best players in the world, which is most of the rest of us, including me for sure. So that's what I do every day. Purdue mechanical engineer from way back, and I kind of joke now it's mostly Excel, PowerPoint, and email, but I do definitely have an engineering background and a lot of experience designing, developing, like I said, clubs, and actually a few years of some golf ball development as well. So happy to talk fitting, which is, essentially my main and only focus now for the last 3.5 years. So always good to talk golf in general. I am a golf nerd and passionate about it on top of all that.
And he's one of the most friendly, approachable people you're ever going to want to meet, too. When you see him out there on the floor or whatever, and he recognizes who you are, it's like everything stops around you, and it's a real treat to meet this guy out in public. So he's a good human being as well as just all what you just heard. So we got accomplishments and all that other kind of stuff. So, Mr. Micheal, on this one, let's see, when you're talking about the trends, that's always a good topic. What are we seeing from like when you saw about 3 years ago or whatever to where we're going? What seems to be one of those trends?
Well, I think the biggest and best trend is golfers are in bigger numbers. We've got some good data on this, are getting fit. Somebody like Jim, like you, and like me, who've been in the industry a long time, we kept telling people to go get fit, right? It's really important you get fit for your golf clubs. And certainly a good percentage, but a minority was doing that for a number of years. And we've really seen a big change coming into COVID, during COVID, and really coming out of COVID. Partly because it was hard to buy clubs off the rack, right? They didn't exist. So people, wanted golf clubs quickly, and they figured out like, hey, I can kind of, in a good way, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I can get the clubs quicker by getting them custom fit. And more importantly, I'm getting them tailored just for me. So in a good way, I think the best trend is more and more people are getting fitted. It still happens, unfortunately, but I'm getting few of the, well, I'm not good enough comments, or my swing's not consistent enough comments. They still happen. If you follow me on Twitter at VGolfman, it seems like at least once every 4 to 6 weeks, I tackle that very topic. But that it's waning. More and more players are getting fit, which is wonderful. And the other kind of cool thing, and this, I think I'm confident this will lead into fitting, it already is in some ways, is more and more players are getting smarter about how they play the game, whether it's Arcos or 18 birdies or the Grint or just the Gin app, or there's so many different options to get on course data. And Jim, I'm sure you're seeing this, the days of, people walking in and saying they hit their driver 270 when really they hit it 245. That I'm sure you still get a little of that, but it's much, much less than before. People have a much better handle. They've gone to Top Golf. They can go to Top Tracer Range, even if they don't have a launch monitor, but there's more places to go to hit a launch monitor. So players are becoming smarter about their own game, and smarter also means more realistic. There's nothing wrong with hitting a driver 245. You can be a scratch player and hit it 245.
For sure.
So yeah, those are two of the trends that there's more, but those are two that I really love seeing. More data, more understanding of your game, and just more players getting fit, more players getting in the right stuff for their game.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when they do fittings here, of course, they fill out a fitting form, and it's a little personal information, some preferences, things they want to stop, and things they want to do with their golf gear. And one of the boxes is, what's the longest wood that you hit well, just as a number. What is it? It's the longest iron you hit well, and then what are the distances? And inevitably anymore, you get this when they get down to, you can always tell they're looking and they go, oh, yeah. It says right here that I hit it that 245. Okay, 245, and you'll see it, and it's just like, oh, so that spurs the conversation on, well, uh, which one of those apps do you have? Oh, I've got this and this, and the next thing you know, I've seen the last 5 golf courses that they've played and all kinds of stuff. Quite interesting. A lot of information to digest too.
Yeah, it is really great. And, I think the future there is starting to drive fitting. Again, not to go back to my Twitter feed, but people, there's a lot of good information. I was just talking about that a week or so ago is, a lot of players are starting to find out finally that, they might hit their 4-iron shorter than their 5-iron, right? They may have a 4 hybrid and a 7 wood, and they like them both, but they might find out they only go 5 yards different. So, which one should they keep in the bag? Why? What's the right set makeup? So that data is great for somebody like you or any good fitter, right? To go, okay, hey, now I know what I'm competing against. I know, if they're going to go spend $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever the number, I know, what I need to improve on. But also the consumer, I think, when they do have a finite budget, and virtually everyone has a finite budget, right? Like, hey, I'm a club junkie. I want to buy a new club, but I've only got X number of dollars. Where should I go next? They can look at some of that data and go, yeah, I do have 2 clubs that go the same distance. Or, wow, my strokes gained on my 3-wood is -3 and everything else is right around 0, comparing to a handicap. Looks like my 3-wood might be an issue. And then, then that's a great opportunity to say, well, is that a swing issue? Well, I hit the 5-wood fine, I hit the driver fine, or is it a club issue? So, not only does it help a fitter, but I think it should help the consumer to understand where they go next, where's best to spend their X number of dollars that they can afford on their next club.
Well, and based on the fact that, as a trend, golf equipment is getting more pricey as we go along, and going into a fitting to get it done actually is more of a financial sense than anything else, because whatever that little bit you pay or wherever you might go, it's that amount of money that most likely you're going to save when you go off and you buy something off the rack that is ill suited, and then you have to go back and go and you're hunting and pecking, and this time you can just walk right in and laser focus, get what you want, and move on out and have the confidence that it's going to work. I mean, we just love that. So
yeah, for sure. There's I love that as well. For sure. It's the best way to do it, right? And that way they know what they're in for, they know what they're up against, you know what you're up against, and you can be honest, I'm sure you've done this over the years, Jim, but somebody comes in and they're hitting something great, and you try a couple things, you go, you know what, I can't beat that today.
yes, I've had that happen more than a couple of times.
Yeah, and that's honesty, right? That's what any player wants. That's why you're a great fitter, why you've won so many top 100 awards and other awards, is that you can say with a straight and honest face, hey, listen, you know what, I can't beat that today. You should keep that in your bag. If you want to talk about, hey, your wedges look really worn. I know you didn't come here, but maybe we can talk about wedges or something else. But I know you came here for 3 or 5 wood, but I can't beat that. That does happen. And that's a good thing. That means you got fit before and you got in the right product. And then you've got a great, honest fitter saying, hey, I'm not going to take your money just to take your money. So yeah, I love that concept.
So what do you think we're going to see in the way of, of course we always see the expanding technology, the paradigm with the carbon all the way around the 360 carbon fiber cage, and we're seeing AI face, and we're seeing jailbreak, and we're seeing a lot of weight being distributed at the bottom of irons. I mean, just some really impressive stuff that's happening, and that driver is just winning all kinds of accolades on the internet. from a club fitting side of it, from the technology that club fitters would you use? Are you seeing anything popping up in that particular arena, the tools that we would use?
Yeah, I am, and I'm working on some. Unfortunately, I can't talk about the ones we're working on. I think launch monitors continue to get better and better. Now, having said that, I think people do need to be a little careful with, some of the less expensive launch monitors. I think they're great for practice. I think they're wonderful for working on your game. Just people need to understand that if you go spend $500 on a launch monitor, you're not getting the same consistency and measurement detail as you're getting if you spent 15 or 20 or 25,000 on something like a Foresight GC Quad or a TrackMan. So, one of the hardest thing and therefore the most expensive thing to measure is spin rate. So, if you're spending $500, just be a little careful with some of those measurements. The websites are honest. Go there, scour the websites, and know what they measure, because they're measuring some really great things. Again, there's a lot of really good and improving launch monitors. Prices are coming down. It's great for golfers. But just know what it's measuring and what we call interpolating, meaning it's taking other data around it and making its best guess. The guesses are often very good, but not always perfect about some other numbers. So launch angle and ball speed are usually are fairly easy and therefore fairly cheap to measure. Spin specifically is very difficult, therefore very expensive to measure. Club head data is typically much more difficult to measure and therefore more expensive. But again, there are some really good affordable launch monitors out there. But again, those are much more suited to practice. And they're great for practice, are wonderful taken to the range, but may not be suited for an elite fitting environment. So, as more people come to you, Jim, and say, "Oh, I have launch monitor X, and I'm seeing this spin rate," and they come in and they're seeing a different spin rate, I could see how that might create some confusion or concerns in the future. And hopefully, we can just educate them, saying, "Well, this is the system I'm using. It's an elite system. It measures all of these things. You have a great system, sir. Please keep using it to practice, but it's interpolating these data points. That's why the numbers might be a little different."
Yeah, that's what I do them with right now, because we have the X3 and I'll get and they're not grossly off in a lot of cases within I'll say 800 to 1,000 RPM, but that's concerning on some folks. And I go, "Well, why is that?" And I say, "Because you got one detector, I've got three." And that's really when it boils down to is I got more watching than you do.
Yeah, and that's why again, that's why elite fitting is what it is. It's that word elite, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with some of those other launch monitors. I want to be clear; they're great for practice, but there are some limitations, and that's okay.
So when you get out there and you're talking about the fitting environment and you talk about getting on tour, so for the folks that are listening, when you get a staffer, when you get one of the guys on tour, then now do they come to the Ely Center and go through the paces there, or do you guys go out and find them out on the road and put them through their paces there? A little bit of both. How does something like that work for somebody that's wearing the Callaway brand?
Yeah, so pre-launch, meaning when we don't want cameras to see it, we do one of three things. We bring them to the ECPC, the Ely Callaway Performance Center, which is right down the street from our Callaway headquarters in Carlsbad, California. We go, that would be option one. Option two, we go to their home or club, depending on what the situation is and where they prefer. And then every once in a while, we will go to a location and set up at a club, especially if we might have 3, 4, 5, 6, even 8 pros who live in that area, and say, "Hey, what fits in your schedule? We're going to go set up over here and come down and get fit." So those, it's really one of those three: at the ECPC, at their home club, or at a nearby club where we'll have multiple pros come. And then once it's out, meaning it's publicly available, it's public knowledge, it's on for the drivers and golf balls, it's on the USGA list. Then we do a fair amount on tour as well, on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before of the event week. So again, when we don't want prying eyes, because as best as we do to keep things hidden on tour, it is a public place. And if there's somebody out there with a really good camera and, can get the right angle, we don't want stuff to leak that way. So we try to keep that, the secret stuff secret as long as we can. But yeah, those are kind of the main four. ways that we get in contact with the game. And again, we have a full team, LPGA, Champions Tour, European Tour, our college and elite juniors, as well as PGA. So we're very blessed to have a big group, both of PGA Tour and elite professional staffers, and a lot of people who service them.
Well, it's funny you said LPGA. I was at the Cincinnati Golf Expo this weekend. The guy that was running it owns a golf exchange, and he invited me out there to go take a look because he knew I'd been there basically a generation before and wanted some input. And during that, I went. Of course, they've got booths, and much like most other golf expos, and I run into the LPGA is there, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing here for?" Well, apparently, Kroger and PS&G has signed a contract to have a tour event there for like 3 years. So good for them, right? And we started talking. Apparently, Paul, their technician, retired, so they got a new guy in, and we started talking about that and whether or not he might need some help. And but they said specifically that, yep, Callaway called us and said that they're going to give them more support on the LPGA tour, and we're going to see quite possibly some more van presence and whatnot, which will certainly help them, which I think is a great thing because they really there for a while were totally underserved. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, we support our LPGA players pretty aggressively, but they haven't always had a truck or things like that out there. We would do it more on a one-to-one basis, and there again, nothing to announce, but it certainly is some talk, and it sounds like you got some of that talk out there of us being more prevalent for players besides just our staffers. So women's golf is so critical. Callaway Golf, Callaway Topgolf Brands as a whole is a biggest, and I believe the biggest supporter of Women's Golf Day. We have I think the broadest and widest, deepest selection of women's clubs available. We've got a new women's golf ball coming out. So it is, women's golf is very much in our DNA, including the LPGA, and we're continuing to expand that very important demographic. Support of that demographic to us.
There we go. So we gotta throw in a product question, Mike.
Fire.
So how is the from a YouTube perspective, the Paradym driver just hit it by storm. It was just nutty. Normally there's always somebody that's an outlier. Oh, I didn't like this or this one. Universally across the board, this thing just caught fire. And it was pretty neat. Are we seeing that like tour wide and other places as well?
Yeah, you mentioned that Mr. Scheffler won the event this week, but and good for him. But we had Rahm finish third. We had Schauffele and Adam Hadwin in the top 10. There's been 6 PGA Tour events, and we've still won 4 of them.
Right.
And the 2 that we didn't win, we had somebody in third place in both of them, and at least one other person in the top 10. So I think from a tour standpoint, you can't argue with what's going on. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I believe we set a record in Hawaii for Callaway. I can't speak for other brands. For Callaway, the most numbers of staffers switched into the new product. It's not uncommon that we start testing when the guy's like, I want to get a couple rounds under my belt, kind of game speed before they switch over, and almost universally they've went into Paradym from the get-go because it's been so good. Clearly, we're seeing that in fittings. We're seeing that in pre-sale. We start shipping to the public here in about 2 weeks. I think February 28th is our go live date. But we've got so many fittings and so much positive feedback from consumers who have hit it, from fitters like you who've had great success with it. We're very bullish on Paradym. Again, I think the tour results speak for themselves, and from the consumer and fitter feedback and like accounts that some of the big accounts have many doors. We're very excited for what this year brings, but more importantly, I want you to go hit it yourself, right? That's all well and good, and I love the fact, and I've maybe only watched 6 or 8 of those YouTube, including a couple of them where every year they seem to kind of needle us no matter what we say or do, and even they were positive this year. So And I'm sure there's others. I haven't watched all of them, but yeah, the response has been as good as anyone could ever expect, and probably better than that. So yeah, we're very excited. It is different, right? This 360 carbon chassis has never been done before. This is titanium in the front, titanium in the back, and nothing but carbon fiber in the middle. So, back when the days when we were designing golf clubs, if we could get 3 grams or 5 grams to move around, that'd be a big deal. And now we're talking dozens of grams to move around compared to titanium. So you can really push the weight where it truly matters most, where you can drive ball speed, where you can drive forgiveness. And that's really what Paradym is about, is creating this best in class ball speed with a forgiveness factor in a shape that's really never been done before. And then, I'd like to think I'm a smart person, but I am not as smart as 300,000 iterations using our AI technology. And that's really the paradigm shift in golf club macro, is somebody like Callaway who has this ability to not just say, hey, I want to optimize now for ball speed, or I want to optimize now for spin consistency, or I'm going to take these 10 grams and I want to figure out how to use them best to increase MOI. But, we have this literal supercomputer that can run tens and hundreds of thousands of iterations that can do all of that together at the same time and create topography and mass movements that, again, I'd like to think I'm a semi-smart human, but I've got no chance against a supercomputer. And we've got incredibly brilliant people who program and use that supercomputer to the best of its ability. So,
well, I saw that when they first introduced the AI, that we had 2 doctors of 2 different genres completely, mechanical engineering and kinesiology, sitting there throwing in information into this thing. And I was like, gee, many Christmas. If you got these guys, when you got a doctorate in something, you're not messing around too much.
yeah, I think that's one of the misconceptions. That's a really good point, Joe. I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think sometimes people think, oh, you have a supercomputer, anybody can run it, right? You just need somebody to press enter every hour or two. That supercomputer is only as good as the input we put in, the data that we've gathered saying, hey, this affects that, this correlates to that. And then we ask the supercomputer the right questions, right? And what we want it to do. So again, you have to have somebody really smart to do all of that, and I've been very blessed to work with a lot of those people to help drive that. So yeah, yes, we have literal doctorates running around designing golf clubs.
Isn't that cool? One more personal question, Mike. What's the handicap you're carrying?
I just checked this morning. It's been I've had a couple good rounds, but my consistency hasn't been, as I'm really trying to work on my game. I am at a 6.3 as of this morning. Well, I don't. Whenever it updated last, but I did happen to check it this morning. So I don't know when it updated last, but when it did, I'm a 6.3, unfortunately. So,
Nice. Well, that's better than most, I can tell you that.
yeah, it's about 2 or 3 strokes higher than I'd like it to be. I think we all say that, but I don't have the time, unfortunately, to think about ever being a scratch golfer at this point in my life. I work. I like spending time with my wife and going to events with her and our dogs and my kids. And
Yeah,
if I could get back down to a 3 or 4, that's where I'd like to be, and I'm comfortable there. And we're all one swing away, right? Every one of us is one swing away.
well, was it your youngest just got started in college? Is that right?
Yeah, my youngest is playing volleyball at Dominican University, and the golf bug bit him crazy hard about 2 years ago. So he went from playing once or twice a year, when I could kind of drag him, to he would play every day. I think his best life is volleyball practice in the morning, 18 holes of golf, and then hanging out with his buddies at night. So that sounds like a pretty good life to me, but we make him go to college and get good grades in between all that. So,
Well, that's important right there too. Well, good deal. All righty, guys. So there's Mr. Vrska. He has graced us with a bunch of his time. Now, I have got 50 plus questions that have racked up onto the side. Not all may be pertinent. If for some reason you have to go, just let us know. But the very, very first question turns out to be relevant. And there it is. Danny, he says, Jim, are my B21 hybrids supposed to be flat at address? When I put it behind the ball, my stance is the heel is on the ground, but the toe is not. Just a regular senior shaft. Thanks. Well, there we go. So,
you want me to take that one?
sure.
Yeah, so heel being up at address means almost nothing. To be real honest, what matters is that dynamic and impact. So a couple things could be happening is, well, one thing is happening is something called shaft droop. Your hands are going to want to line to the center of the golf club head. So again, if you can look at high-speed video, you can probably find some of the internet. The shaft actually bends both away from you, if you will, kind of towards the ground. And the other thing is, I don't know where your hands are coming through at impact. You could have your hands at your knees at impact and up, up by your chest, by your hands at address and up by your chest at impact. Always want to fit lie angle. I shouldn't say always, almost always want to fit lie angle based on ball flight. So if you're hitting them pretty straight, or the direction if you want to hit a draw or want to hit a fade, or it's controllable, then that is the perfect lie angle for you, because it matters at dynamic. Now, there are rare cases that you need to be off by a couple degrees where you could actually have a good ball flight, but the lie angle be so far off you have bad turn for interaction. That is rare. So again, we want to fit on ball flight, and just because something, if you look down at the toe looks up or the toe looks down, that don't worry about that. Let's only worry about what the golf ball knows, which is that moment of impact, and that's going to be what drives that whether that lie angle is correct for you or not.
Yep, the dynamic versus static. Okay, well done. That was one we hit that one right out of the park, right in the first swing.
Teeing it up for me, literally.
All right, the tropics of Michigan is a tensai counterbalance shaft. I've never felt the head flex before. I went conservative 10 yards, for 10 years further. I think 10 yards further. Should I be having that much flex? Oh, there's a good one. I don't know if any.
Jim.
So the Tensy shaft doesn't. There's not a counterbalance. You got silver, blue, red, and I believe there's an orange.
There's an orange.
Yeah, and none of them are counterbalance shafts. If you're feeling the flex in the head while you're doing the waggle, pretty much that's the same thing as Mike was talking about in having the toe up at address.
Yeah, so the orange is a little bit counterbalanced. That is the only Tensy that is a little bit counterbalanced. Now, again, I don't know if this guy maybe had a butt weight placed in there. You could counterbalance it. Maybe you went with a significantly heavier grip. There are some things there, but again, what's the ball flight telling you? That's what matters. And feel and reel could be different. This might be just because, again, you have a little more weight in your hands and it feels different. Does not mean the shaft is actually flexing. Now, I'm not saying that you're not feeling that. I'm definitely not saying that. But again, feel and reel can be two different things as well. So if it's the Tensy orange, there is a little bit of counterbalance there. But they've designed that shaft to work and flex and the bend profile to go with that. So, but if you have the white or blue or what was the other color, Jim? Even I've forgotten. Silver. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, you something weird might be going on there. But again, ball flight.
There we go. Matt's a guy out of Cleveland. He comes down there a couple times a year. Didn't he get any rounds in? Now, Matt can give some game out. I think he on the regular when he talks about shooting scores, they normally start with a 6, and so he's got some game and it's pretty good.
Sounds like we should be asking him questions then.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I've had him on the program. We're just talking about stuff. He's got some good philosophies. He says, "What kind of stretching routine does everyone have to get ready for the season? Any changes for the bag in 2023?" Yeah, we're going to be seeing some changes. You can see mine's right back here already. It's already got the wrong head cover on it. So we're going to go from there. That's probably going to change really, really quick. Uh-oh, here we go. That's what we're going to do. We're guys going to ask Mike what's he got in the bag now.
There's mine.
Is there a lot of blue colored heads underneath there?
Interesting. I have a driver. I'm playing the Paradym Standard driver. I need to spend a little more time with the fairway woods. I've hit both the triple diamond and the standard pretty well, quite frankly, but they've both, but I haven't spent enough time with either one to make decisions. So just so everybody knows, I'm not lying to them. That is my personal Paradym gamer right there.
There we go with the Ventus. That is
So
one popular shaft. Is that the TR model?
this is one of the new TRs. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing's been nice. I'm not much of a fairway guy, but by golly, I love those hybrids. I like the shape of the new ones, that the new Paradym ones. Love that shape.
Yeah. Obviously the drivers, the home run, the irons are amazing. And, and not because I think the hybrids could be one of the sleeper golf clubs this year, and only sleeper because people want to talk about the drivers and the irons so much. But man, when they see the Paradym, the shape of that is inspired a lot by our Apex UW, which has been very popular on tour. It's my unicorn club right now. I absolutely love mine. So yeah, that hybrid, we have a new cut wave sole. You'll see it actually is a new turf interaction, and that hybrid is crazy good. So if anybody's in the market for a hybrid or a long iron replacement or a higher lofted fairway wood replacement, just make sure you give it a chance. I think you might be pleasantly shocked. And I mean, I chose that word specifically, not surprised, shocked on the look, feel, sound, and performance of the Paradym hybrids.
Hey, I know we got the driver in and we got the irons in for the fitting cart. Are we delaying the fairway woods and the hybrids?
We did have a delay on some of the models of fairwoods. You should have your hybrids already. If not, I'll be sending an email shortly after we end this call. I'm not sure what the delay there is. We can get that fixed for you.
Well, we've talked to the inside rep. He takes care of us pretty good. So,
Good.
and we told him we were being delayed, and he explained it why. I was just wondering if maybe that was just a universal thing or not.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely knew about the fairway woods, and I mean, there's certainly possible some hybrids, but it shouldn't be across the board. But
Okay.
things happen.
All righty. Here's Emmanuel. How you doing, sir? Hello, Jim and Robin, all the golf gear heads here. February 13th and 58 degrees in NYC. Gotta like the weather. Nice. We like that one too. Oh, by the way, February 13th, you know what that means? That's just one day before Valentine's Day for those of you that celebrate it. And I changed all this stuff to red just to kind of remind you all. So you now have no excuse. All righty. He's asking, can you explain putter offset measuring, shaft diameter, and how do I apply it? Now, just so you know, Emmanuel, he's also a club guy. He's up in the New York area. He does some of this stuff. And we tend to chat a lot on on the live stream about some stuff when he has folks coming in.
Yeah, so a couple, it's just become an industry standard, and there's very few industry standards, but it just kind of happened over the years that typically golf club manufacturers, including Odyssey and Toulon, typically call about a full shaft, 3/4 shaft, half shaft, quarter shaft, or no shaft offset. And what that really is that's just a way for us to not have to say that it's 370 or 355. It's a quick reference of, a full shaft is, basically the back of the shaft is generally equal with the center of with the top of the face or the middle of the face, depending on the manufacturer. A half shaft would mean that the center line of the shaft generally goes to the center of the face. Again, generally, some manufacturers might have it go through the leading edge, some might have it go through the top, but again, that's generally the center of the shaft to the center of the putter head. So, and what that is it does different things for different players. It affects different alignments, depending on eye position. Some people argue eye dominance, but I haven't seen really good data on that. I've seen certain players that affects, but it's hard to say on a macro level. But anyway, so it definitely affects how some people align the putter. It also it does have effect with conjunction of where the shaft goes in the head and the CG location to what we call toe down, or what percentage of face balance it is. That also factors in. So, but it's hard to say that, this player type needs more offset or that player type needs less offset, again, because it varies so much. What we have found kind of universal is if we can get the center of the gravity forward with as high MOI as possible, that helps virtually every golfer on earth. So whether you need more toe down or less toe down, more offset or less offset, that's really going to come down to, again, eye position, how that player aligns different shapes. Some players line squares, some people need multiple lines, some people line it better with nothing. John Rahm's a great example. He has literally nothing on the top of his putter, and he's just using the face and the top line. That's good for him. I've fallen in love with the 2-ball. That really works for me. Interestingly, years ago, I went through a really good fitting system, and 3 lines work. And I found as older I've gotten, and my sight has gotten a little worse, as often we do with our older. I now struggle aligning the putter that was perfect for me 5-8 years ago. I actually struggle aligning it now. So, that's a pretty example of even, and I have made some setup changes. I've changed my eye position a little bit. So it could be a combination of my actual visuals and how I'm setting up to it. So, but anyway, that it's just that offset is just a way to help make it easy for the consumers and fitters, quite frankly, to know the difference between putters. But most putters are 370 out there. There are some 355 tips, but most are 370.
There you go. Couldn't explain it any better. That's basically help you set it up. And I was able to talk with Mr. Toulon 2 shows ago or 3 shows ago now. And I'm sure I remember Kirk Curry.
I do know Kirk.
Yep. Yeah, and he had the laser alignment lines, and we talked at length about that, about putting that laser there, and that just it was proof in the pudding. You had one with a plumber's neck, which would be a full shaft off, and that line would be here. And then you give them something without, and you just kept moving it until you see that they were lining towards the center, and you're like, well, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this because it's simplistic, but it's true. I mean, putting really comes down to about 4 things. One is alignment. Where do you align it? And you don't even need to line it perfect, but you have to line it consistently. You can line it 1 degree left or right, but as long as you do it the same way. 2, you have to get the face back to perpendicular, period. If your face is not square at impact, you cannot be a good putter. 4, distance control. 3, distance control, and 4, the line. So, notice I never said path. The path is really secondary. I know people like to work on path. It's I don't want to say it's useless, but if you don't have that face angle square, the rest of it doesn't matter. And from a fitting perspective, getting the right length, getting the shape, the lines, the offset, the right grip. I mean, those are the things that's going to help you align it right and then get the face back to square most consistently. Getting the weight right is going to help you get the distance control right. And then green reading, that's a lot of practice, and there's some good tools out there. Many of you probably know about, but yeah, I mean, that putting is really those 4 things. I know we like to talk about 700, but there's really 4.
There we go. All right, this one's from David. David's in the UK. I was mentoring him for a bit. He says, hope was all as well. How was the PGA show? What was your personal highlight? So, we've been, I think we made it to number 18 or 19 this time around. And, we go, and it's really at that point in time, it's like visiting with Mike and the people that we know, and getting some maybe little tweaks and little bits of information to help us fit better, that kind of thing, catching up with the family, that kind of stuff, man. And then where I like going is the new inventors area, because those guys are always, they're 110% of getting their product out. They're new to it. They don't have the infinite bank account. They're really trying to make every bang for their buck, and they really get behind their stuff. They're very, very focused on their stuff. And the funniest part, one of the neatest things, and I showed these guys last week, but one of the neatest things was a place called Man Cave Pictures. And they took one, and I'm sure you've got one. I've got it sitting up here, but of old Tom Morris, or one of the old black and white pictures or whatever. And this guy is an ex-Marine from the Naval Academy, and he's taken up photography, and he's digitized these black and white film pictures, and has put this definition into this picture. And then apparently somewhere along the lines, these hues of grays and blacks and whites turn out to be a color, and he has colored those things, and so now you get these colored pictures of these black and white, and the depth and the texture of these pictures is massive, absolutely massive. Got Bobby Jones teeing off at St. Andrews. We've got Gene Saracen, who is all of like this tall on a 7-foot poster, just to show they could do it. A lot of cool stuff in that particular instance, particularly if you're a history buff. Now he does it in other sports, but I saw that and it was just neat. And then it was also cool to be able to catch up with some NavCAD guys because for some of the years of me growing up, I grew up right outside of there, so we had some stories to trade off and stuff. So that was really, really cool. All right, here we go. Same guy. Do you have a trick for or roll for swing weighting double bend putter shafts without removing the head? Either a flexible ramrod to push the cork down the thing. Thanks. Well, so David, so what I have, I don't normally don't put weight down the shaft, and I normally don't put the cork down the shaft. I've never, it's never It's never gotten as tight as I ever want it to be. It's never got down in that area. I know that's a popular thing and people have done that. But personally, no, I have not done that. If it had removable weights, I would look at checking the weights and moving those first before doing anything else. Then, as much as it's not very tidy to look at, maybe lead weight if necessary, if you'd have to do that. Now, you can place it in strategic locations, and if you use what I've done in the past is you take a wooden handle and you rub it so that it takes a form so it's not jagged and it doesn't catch grass and that kind of stuff, and at least looks part of it. Now, what you said, that does exist. I have one. It's literally a graphite rod that's 4 foot long and it's thin to be able to get around. Can it be done? The answer is yes. I just don't do it, and for the reasons why I told you. So hopefully that helps. All right, Charles Bartholomew, he's off the East Coast. He's another Submariner. And this is the Miguel Jimenez warm up routine that Matt was asking people. Oh, we got here's Joey from Georgia. How are you, sir?
Hi, Joey.
He wants to know what we assemble this week. Well, a lot of the Mizuno clubs were in full force. Some Tura stuff. Those guys are out of Canada. Mostly just wedges. A lot of repairs. I fixed a set of the old FTs, the Callaway FTs, and I reshafted those. Those are the ones with they're a fake bore through with the little bubble on the bottom, and I put those in there, and we reshafted those with some new steel shafts, and he asked us to bend them to an extent that I told him no because I didn't want the face popping out of the club, and we wanted to make it to there, so that was good. Scott Sandrin, how are you, buddy? Did we make it to Maggiano's? The answer is yes, we did. And I did get the spaghetti and the meatball, and yes, I did like it. We did our Valentine's Day early. They had a twofer at their deal where you got a appetizer, a couple entrees, a couple desserts, a couple drinks, and it was all on this menu that they had, and it was very delicious. I recommend it if it's in your neck of the woods by far. All right. Here's Sean Grinstead. Had a great experience with you last week. There we go. Haven't stopped thinking about the Maltby Irons you had me hitting. What are they again, and what do you think, and are they available? All right, Sean. So, number one, they were the Maltby KE4s. No, they no longer exist. Those things were about as old as you and I are. they're the ones I just used to test for length. Now, they probably have updated KE4 models, but that's just what it is. And I guess you could check the website for that one as well. There's Peter. Peter's from Myrtle Beach. He's another military. He's another officer gentleman. All righty. There's Sean again. Since my driver shaft is basically a noodle and the iron shafts will be regular, would my woods woods and hybrids be matchy, and should my wedge shafts be softer? So Sean, we fit Sean into basically a soft R. Okay. That's where we went with it. We went into a soft R, and he was swinging. Oh, he had an iron in his hand, so he was with a 6-iron. He was mid 70s ish, and real nice fluid swing. And but right at the very end was this really push through at the very bottom. And when we put them in a regular flex, it just worked better. So that's what we went with.
Love it.
And so should the wedge shafts be softer? No. As a matter of fact, no. In fact, we were using the Jaws Raw with the catalyst in the wedge shafts, and they were working just fine. I would go with that very similar type feel.
Yeah, if I could maybe jump in to touch on that. I mean, that is a trend on tour, and not all players. There's actually one or two that go stiffer, but a lot of players use it the same. There are certainly some players that go less, but we're really seeing that's most beneficial on really high swing speed players. So if you're hitting your sand wedge 100, 105, 110, and then but you don't swing it that often. You're hitting a lot of 70-yard shots or 80-yard shots. Then those players, might want to have a little more quote unquote touch or feel a little softer. Especially if you have what I like to call a utility wedge. Maybe you've got a 60 degree that, you'd really never swing it outside of 50 yards. So you're never putting your full maximum speed on it. But generally speaking, you'd want the wedges to match the irons, and with the exception of being if you're a higher swing speed player and you typically are using one or two wedges, more often on partial shots, that might be a time to go a little softer.
There you go. So here's one of the questions that we do get asked a lot too. If in comparison to your irons, I know you said something about same flex. What do we talk about weight when we go there in the wedges?
Yeah, so it's another one. I mean, our standard is, we recommend the same weight. There are times when players might want to go a little heavier again, but that would come down to if there's a tempo issue. If you think, boy, that when the club get that short, maybe you feel like you need a little more weight. So it's extremely rare, and I can't think of any instance where going lighter would be the way to go. So it would be the same weight or heavier. But again, the only time I'd go heavier is if you feel like you're having a tempo issue at the shorter shaft length. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I know we've got a lot of fitters on here, but if there's anybody listening who's a consumer, they might not realize your heaviest golf club is your sand wedge. Your next heaviest golf club is your gap wedge. Your lightest golf club is your driver, and in between there. So, I think people sometimes see the size of a driver head and its length and think, oh, that's my heaviest golf club, or they're all the same. It's actually not that way at all. It goes the other direction. So your sand wedge, your gap wedge, your lob wedge, your pitching wedge are already heavier. So again, I'm not saying never, but the standard should be to go with the same weight shaft, with the exception being, again, if you have a tempo problem or you're specifically using that wedge shaft often for less than full shots, and for some reason that feels better to you.
There we go. All right, Joey, how you doing, buddy? He says, see more posts than likes. Smash that like button. I appreciate it. For a matter of fact, hit that like. I didn't do that in the beginning. You got the like and the subscribe. Please do if you're new to the channel. It gets the word out to more of the people. My dog Rex, 70 degrees and light breeze in Southwest Florida. You suck.
Better than SoCal, actually.
Yeah, but man, he's a good guy. He's a good soul. But man, 70, would that not just be about perfect? 70 degrees. Wow. All righty. Common Man, how you doing, buddy? Glad to see you make it back. Scott, speaking of Maltbees, I put together KE4 Max, 7 iron head and a Kurakagi. Gen 2, your opinion on that iron head for game improvement? Well, if you use Maltby's measurements, it's a game improvement club super game improvement. Anything that those guys put the word max to, that's what it's for. Super game improvement. And so that means longer blade lengths, lower center of gravities, deeper center of gravities, more offset, that kind of thing. So yeah, you should get it. And the Kurakagi is no joke. I mean, that's a heck of a good little shaft to put in there. Yeah. So not too bad. There we go. We got Krister from Sweden checking in. Krister is one heck of a golfer in Sweden. Al from the Space Coast. That's the reason why we see that in there. Here we go. Emmanuel, we said traded the Rogue Triple Diamond and ordered the Paradym Triple Diamond. Should be here in 5 weeks. One sweet swinging driver, he says.
Let's just leave that up. I love Emmanuel. He's my new favorite listener. So
there you go, Emmanuel. You got a fan, buddy. Well done. And he's got game, buddy. Don't let him fool you. He's got game. Oh, here we go. Joey wants to know, does Callaway have replacement for the Mac Daddy cavity back wedges in the works?
I cannot confirm the name or when or exactly what, but yeah, we had a great success with our cavity back wedges. Really great feedback from fitters and consumers alike, and yeah, at some time in the future, we will have a new and improved version of those.
Now, did you see on that? Because when we had those things, I mean, we, like everybody else, the wider sole made them easier to hit, but it seemed like because of the cavity back that it actually popped off the club a little bit more than say the average wedge. Were you guys seeing something like that?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because sometimes, especially hitting off mats with a little bit more sole, if the player just catches it, I don't want to say fat, but just catches that turf a tiny bit early, you get that ball actually to pop off the mat. Excuse me, I said turf, to pop off the mat, and you get a little less spin and a little higher launch, a little faster speed. So we certainly see that, but on a quote unquote perfectly well struck shot to like our Jaws raw face and the CB wedge, ball speeds are very similar. You do get a little more forgiveness, both through the design of the shape of the face, so the sole, as well as that cavity, be able to push some mass to the perimeter to help with MOI. But from a ball speed perspective, it's very similar. Would somebody see a tiny bit ball speed increase because the face is a little thinner? I certainly wouldn't be shocked by that, but I don't think it'd be substantial in many cases.
I got the full toes in mine. I love those things. The second generations, man. I like those. There you go. Those are the ones right there. I just think those things work just so well.
Yeah, directly out of my bag and directly back in.
I got to talk to Mr. Cleveland about that one. That was a lot of fun. I'd brought my dad with me, and they were basically about the same age. So
Roger's amazing.
You had that old man thing going on, like same wavelength. It was happening.
Oh.
But yeah, he was a lot of fun to talk to. All right. We got Ron. Hello from Maine. Hello. Frank, he's saying hello as well. Here we go. Here, Emmanuel's got one for you. Does it matter that the new Versa line of Odyssey putters do not have adjustable weights?
Obviously, I want to know more what he's asking about there. Just from a perspective of the new Odyssey, the Versas. Hold on, I'm just checking one thing here to make sure I don't speak incorrectly here. Because they do have adjustable weights. I believe every one of them do. I know all the blades and the mallets do. I don't know about the Model 12. I'm trying to click on that. I believe all of them do. There's a chance that one model does it, but all of our other Versas do have adjustable weights. It's something that we believe in big, very important for our premium putter line. So yeah, Versa, just as a quick, some people know we launched it 8 or 9 years ago. But what's interesting, we stopped selling. We had tremendous success. It was a huge hit for Odyssey. We had a couple different versions, and then a few years later, moved on to something else. But one thing that's interesting, we had at least one Versa on played on tour every year, even though we launched that 9 years ago. And it's interesting. We really almost had a groundswell of tour players and a really elite coaching. Phil Kenyon, who is arguably the best putter coach in the world, is a huge proponent of Versa. No one talks louder of the alignment benefits of Versa. So, it is a rebirth, but it's all new and improved from a shaping, from a detail. Still has the great Versa black, white, black technology, but really everything else about those putters are brand new and improved, including the adjustable weight. So again, it's possible that one model, but I believe all of them do. So shouldn't have any problem adjusting weights on that either.
So I like the idea when you get that the Rosie came back. I think that's going to be a massively that was always a popular club. I'm just glad to see it make it back into the lineup.
Yeah, that's the old Rossi 2 from way back. I mean, that was really one of the putters that put Odyssey on the map, back before it was what it is today, which is the number one putter in golf. So there's a lot of great history there. Yeah, and I'm clicking through on the webpage just to confirm every putter does have the adjustable sole weights, including the 12. So all Versas do have the two weights, towards the leading edge, heel and toe.
There you go. Very cool. All right, Danny Freeman, when building clubs, do you take the heaviest head and weight others to match? What is the acceptable weight difference between clubs? All right, Danny. So when we're building clubs, if you're starting, as we've talked about, when we're making a good build, you measure heads, you measure shafts, you measure grips, although that's been pretty decent. And you want to be as tight as you possibly can with the shafts, although even was it True Temper gives themselves 1 to 3 grams to consider it a well weighted group. So 1 to 3. So if you truly got something really nice building, 1 to 3 grams would be great. And in heads, I like to see right around a 7-gram spatial difference, top to bottom. Whatever one is, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Now, is it massively critical that you see that? No, but there is a difference. Personally, I don't like to go any more than 2. That tends to be a swing weight in a lot of cases, not all, but in some. And if so, what I try to do is weight them out so that they get to that 7 weight, that 7-gram, assuming that we're not going stupid heavy for the swing weighting side of it. If it's one that's just, I'm 7, 7, 7, 7, and then one just falls out, and then 7, 7, 7, and that to the heavy, well, then it's heavy. That's just because grinding it, now you're starting to impact the design parameters of the head. And if you have to take off a lot of weight, number one, you're destroying the cosmetics of the club, and number two, you're messing with the specifications of the club, what they wanted. So, but 7 grams is what I like seeing, and that should trend out when you're measuring from total weight when their build is all done. Okay, Sonny V, he's in Canada. He's getting warmer. He was under some snow last week. Ooh-wee. All righty. Here's another one for us. Common Man, you recommend some decent budget-friendly senior shafts to consider for a possible future iron set purchase. Really, what I would do for you, Bud, is I'd go to the Golf Works website, Golf Shafts America website, and go take a look at what, you might find a closeout, you might find something like that, and then see if it fits your budget. Most of the stuff that Golf Shafts America and the stuff that Golf Works carries is pretty decent. Even their own brand stuff goes through a quality control check, and you won't be disappointed. Okay. There's Matt commenting about the M&S warm-up there area. There we go. Joey, here's another one. Callaway offers AutoFlex as a shaft upgrade. Oh, I didn't know that. They suggest D1, D2 swing weight. Can Callaway build to that spec if ordered from them? And is the movable weight replaceable?
So a lot to take in there. So we sell the AutoFlex has been a tremendous success, shockingly so. It is the most expensive golf shaft on earth, pretty much. But we've still had a lot of success with it. We dipped our toe in the water just with drivers and what we call our exotics program. I don't need to go into that now. And then we added the custom, and now we have literally you can order any AutoFlex shaft from us. So the feedback on that has been great. So for swing weight, and just to be clear, we always do our best to match when we do everything we can to match the swing weight requested. So, but I'm going to give a way off example. If someone said, "Hey, I want this iron 1 inch long with Dynamic Gold X100, and I need it to be at C9," well, that's not possible. So what we would do the best we can. Now, if you say, "Hey, I want this new Paradym driver, I want AutoFlex shaft, I want it to at D2," we will take all of the adjustable weights out and put adjustable weights in to get that as close as possible. Now, again, without knowing what length you're asking for and what head, I can't say for sure. Again, without knowing the length and grip and everything else. But if you say, "Hey, I want it D2, we will do everything possible to get it D2. Is it possible we can only get it to D3? If that's the lightest we can make it, then you'll get one at D3. So swing weight is, a guideline, not a rule. That's a bit of a stretch because we do match swing weights and iron sets. But But anyway, so if you ask for a D1, D2, we will remove every weight we can and put the lightest weight we can, or remove every weight we can and put the heaviest ones in if that's what it's needed. So we will get it as close, and it's amazing the number, because of our adjustability and the number of heads we bring in, amazingly how often we hit those swing weights. But again, we promise to get it close.
I like that and not only just to the heavy, but the light, where you get a guy that, wants a 44-inch shaft with a 40-gram head or 40-gram shaft, and he wants it to be a D3 swing weight.
Yeah, we'll do our best.
Good
we
Lord,
will,
man.
Yeah,
a lot of times that's I call it made of unobtainium.
Yeah, and again, and just so everybody's listening, people do ask for builds several times a year that we have to write back and say, listen, the closest, you're asking for D1 and the best we can do is D5. Are you okay with that? Or you're asking for C5 and the best we can do is C9. Are you okay with that? So people do sometimes put in requests that are the unobtainium, as Jim so eloquently said, but our team in Monterey does an amazing job of getting it right or so close that most people can't tell the difference.
Like that. So Joey says he's thinking of the Paradym with the AutoFlex shaft.
Get that credit card warmed up. We'll be happy to help you with that.
All right. Seymour 3 or C-Mo Rep 3. Well, my buddy wants to switch his shaft with one link shafts. I told him it's not that easy. What are your thoughts? He's a beginner and has the Mizuno MX-23s. All right. So the short answer is, if you got a traditional set and you want to go to single length, the short answer is no. Okay. The short answer is no, because what you have to do is you go to the 7 or 8 iron and you measure that head weight, and then all the rest of them have to be like that in order for them to all swing the same way. That's the idea of single length. Now, that's not the only thing, is that those clubs are designed for certain lengths, certain, the way that you approach it, and certain, all these things. So now you got to bend all these clubs into that, and sometimes you may get to a point where you just can't bend it to that point, particularly if they're cast, right? You may not be able to get to that point. And then the other part is the technology or the loft angles may not be there and allow you to get, the 7 will do good, the 8 will do good, the 9 might do good, but the 6 won't, the 5 won't, and then all of a sudden you're just shooting the wedges out into space and just totally too far. There is so much that has to go into the modification of that particular set that, again, it's almost made of unobtainium, and the work into that is just crazy high. And if anybody was to spot you to say, hey, this is what they want to do, it would probably cost you more than just going out and get the set itself. So, no. All right. Yep, there we go. He's talking in it. Oh, here's Brendan. It's been a while, buddy. Brendan is from Ireland. As you can tell by his thing, he's got our man down there. He says, hi, guys, getting the San Diego. Oh, he's getting the San Diego H5 flow neck without going to the custom shop, same as Scotty Newport too.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways. Get on tour, and one of our tour reps will make you pretty much whatever you want, or you have to go through our Toulon garage. Yeah. Obviously, we offer different models, different years, but we've really changed. If you haven't been on the Toulon garage site, we've made it much easier to get exactly what you want. We've actually made it cheaper, less expensive. Now, again, it's not cheap because you're designing the putter. You're picking out the head, you're picking out the neck, you're picking out the finish, you're picking out every paint fill. Most of them can be custom stamped. You're picking out the shaft, not only the shaft, but the shaft color. You're picking out the grip, the length, the loft, on and on and on. But we've made it one price. So, it used to be, you click this and it went up $30, and that it went to $15. We've made it really simple and actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper for almost everybody than before. But not to be tongue in cheek, but yeah, you got 2 options: Toulon Garage, which is amazing and fun to play with, or get a tour card and then they'll make something for you.
So Joey says, how excited is Callaway with 4 PGA wins? Dan Gavin's DP World Tour with the Paradym in the season so far.
Yeah, we're super excited. Nick McAnally, who runs global marketing, is just head over heels. All the work that we've put in from a marketing standpoint, R&D, all the work that Tour does to get the perfect models in the bag, doesn't guarantee success. So, but because the product is so good, and if you look at our strokes, so the strokes gained off the tee and what those guys have been doing, I'm not saying the product's the only thing. We have amazing people swinging the product, clearly. John Rahm can do things with a golf ball that blows my mind. And I've been around some of the best players in the world many times, and just what him and Xander and Sam Burns, what they can do with a golf ball is next level. But, we help them play their best. And that driver is amazing. And again, we want you to go hit it for yourself. Go get fit, go take your gamer in and say, how does it stack up? What's the ball speed difference? What's the distance difference? And, really kind of most importantly, what's the dispersion distance? The downrange dispersion on that club is next level for how fast it is.
That's what we're seeing here in the fittings I've done, Mike, is it's just been, they hit it and they just turn around and they look at me and I'm like, yeah, I know. That's what it yeah, I was like, yeah, it's further. Yeah. And it's funny because you can take them through, you normally start with the regular paradym, and then I'll give them a shot at either the triple diamond, like Grinstead. I was like, he was hitting the ball so well. I said, let's try this triple diamond, and a little bit open face, a little bit smaller area. And he went from right down the gut to this, off to the right, off to the right, off to the right. And I said, well, that's face, man. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And he says, oh, okay. So we went right back using the same exact shaft. So it just goes to show you that the club designs aren't just, three clubs with a stamp on it and just hope that it's different, that they truly are, significantly different than the next. So that's a good one.
Yeah, I love to hear that you're seeing that. A lot of work went in to do that. And if you put the Paradym X in, you're going to see it going left. So we've got something for everybody.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Jonathan Scott saying hello from Virginia. Looks like he's got himself a nice fish there. All right. There's Charles Michael. Oh, here's one right through you. I notice a bowling ball and a pin on the shelf behind you in the background. Is that indicative of a 300 game?
No. So I'm actually in my college son's room. I'm trying to show you there, pointing it to it. So that is a volleyball. I mentioned earlier my son plays, it was a very good high school and club volleyball, and now is a collegiate volleyball player. Very proud of him. He just likes to bowl. He is not good at it, but it really likes it. And I think that's from a birthday party. And the two silver boxes, I don't know if you make it out, but those are Chrome Soft XLS. So those are so when he is back from a summer break or a spring break or whatever, those are just kind of, this is his room. Well, it's not his room anymore. Now it's becoming my office since he's only here a couple months a year. But it was his room.
Welcome to growing up. All right, here's some couple good questions coming up for you. All right. Stu says, and he says hello, and he says, does a higher spinning golf ball stay more online, i.e. straighter?
Great question. So the answer to that is if it's pure backspin, then yes. But the more your spin tilt axis changes, and with the more spin it has, therefore by definition, the more it will go online. So if you have pure backspin, essentially a spin tilt axis of say less than 1. And high spin, that's really going to hold its line in windy conditions. But if that gets to 2, 3, 4, and really once you get to kind of 8 or more, that's going to go significantly more offline, more curvature. So backspin is, I know as an industry we've screamed high launch, low spin, but a lot of slower swing speeds need more spin to keep the ball in the air longer. A lot of people who don't generate spin on their own, maybe they're coming to the 7-iron with only, they're coming in at -1 or even level. They're not going to generate much spin on their own, especially if they don't have elite speed at that point. They're going to need. So it really is a fine balancing act of getting the right golf club for the player and their delivery to match with the golf ball. Not only for their delivery, but the amount of curvature they want. And that's before we get into what, type of shots you want to play around the green. And golf ball fitting, something I spend a ton of time on. We could easily do a full hour on golf ball fitting. And Jim, maybe one day we'll circle back in, a few months and do that. But yeah, look at spin. Spin is really important, especially on iron shots, especially around the green. And then issue with the driver, so many golf balls now are low spin off the driver. It's the ball speed that's much more a factor off the driver. So it's really finding the golf ball that you can hit the fastest with the right control with the right spin on your irons, and then the amount of control you want around the greens. We've run lots of studies and surveys, and almost everybody says they want more spin around the greens. But if you dig deeper, and you ask them, they say, "Oh no, I only use my 8-iron. I chip everything." Well, you don't want more spin around the greens then, because you're playing a chip and run. You want it to release. There's nothing wrong with playing a lower spinning golf ball. There's nothing wrong with playing a higher spinning ball. It really, again, it's how you deliver the golf club, the golf clubs you're using, and the shots you want to play.
There you go. And we've talked about that where, I've asked about what is side spin. I said, no. Here's your access, and whether or not it one way or to another, and how that ball wants to spin around there. And you're right. I mean, I hit the XLS. My swings, if you were looking at swing speed, I come nowhere close, but I chop wood. And because of my angle descent, I like the lower spinning stuff.
Yep.
And I can still grab it with the wedge, and it will still stop for me. So everything works for that. I mean, it'd be great.
Yeah, basically, when a lot of people, they say, oh, they see backspin and side spin. It again, take you back to your high school math. Think of vector mechanics, right? So you literally, you have one here and one here, but it's really a line between them. You connect them. There's really only one spin. There's a spin rate with a spin tilt axis, but many launch monitors have broken that up into backspin and side spin, so it's easier to understand. I have no problem with doing that, because again, that is easy to understand. Oh, 800 RPMs of side spin. You can kind of place your mind around that. But please understand that there is only one spin rate, and it's based on the spin tilt axis. But again, sometimes it's reported out as separate.
There we go. All right. Sean Hartigan says, how's everyone tonight? And here's another one for you. How closed face is the Paradym Hybrid? Charlie wants to know.
So the Paradym Hybrid is no closed face. The Paradym X, those are a little bit I'd have to check for sure, but those might be, half, maybe 1 degree closed, but the standard Paradym is not closed. And we've worked, the R&D team, Callaway, have worked really hard to make that standard model something that a lot of players are really going to love. If you do fight a fade or fight a slice, you want to get in the Paradym X. You're a little bit lower handicap, or even a mid handicap, who want something neutral, to maybe even a touch of fade depending on the hosel settings. Those are all adjustable. Paradym is a great way to go.
And he said the key word and tricky phrase that you haven't heard in a while is the hybrid is adjustable. Now, you haven't heard that in a while, and that's always a good thing. All right. Cam McMaster Music, he makes little musics that he's letting me use every once in a while. Says, do you think any company would use a hosel system on shafts for putters or irons so the heads could be swapped out with the next year's model and reuse that shaft if they are good enough for fitting then?
Yeah, so I think they are good enough for fitting, but from a consumer standpoint, there's a lot of trade-offs there. We really, there's not much benefit there. It's really easy to bend an iron. It's really easy to bend a putter. It's really easy to reshaft an iron or a putter. So there's not a lot of benefit there, and the cost of that adjustability is very expensive. And then if we ever would change the hosel tip, those shafts would no longer be valid anyway. So. No, I don't think thing's anybody's going to do. It would make your initial iron cost incredibly expensive.
There we go. And Emmanuel says, thank you. Great explanation of the putter's offset. All right. We have a new one here. James Carol Chink. Oh my gosh. There we go. We'll get rid of that's next. Hello from Malaysia. All right. And Alan Molitor, he improved his DCBs with some elevate shafts. Good for you, man.
Yeah, we've that True Temper Elevate shaft is it's been. I hate to use. I'm a former college baseball player, but I hate to use that baseball. It's been a home run. I mean, the number of players, the variety of the different weights. I mean, it's just been really wide range of players are loving that Elevate, loving that you're loving your Apex DCBs. Really easy to hit, forgiving, and then obviously being a forge from a sound and feel standpoint, it's tough to beat. So great to hear that, Alan.
Yep, it's been a real. I mean, when we first started testing them, they kind of changed their approach to it. They waited and then they put MPH behind it. But in either case, I've always made fun of the reps are always looking for that uh, the not the dynamic gold, but the Dynalite gold replacement. They can't ever find that one shaft to do it. This very well may be it right here.
Yeah, I think the Elevate could be one that stays on. They had the original Elevate, and now they have they made a small tweak to the profile and some of the thicknesses, the Elevate to MPH, and it's like I said, it's been universally loved, and this is one I could see staying in the line. I don't make those decisions for True Temper and True Sports, but this is one that, from a success standpoint and broad reach, this is one that I could see staying in the line.
Yep. And then there's Krister asking about the swing center shafted Versa putter, but he says he found it already. So
yeah, but there's also a center shafted Tri-Hop 5K this year. I believe it's a triple wide 5K that is center shafted. So it's interesting. The center shafted people, we know through sales, it's a very small percentage, but it's a very loud small percentage. They are the vocal minority, but we've got to take care with at least 2 models this year.
And join me. I'm probably in that vocal minority. Krister's got an Instagram, and they have him, and he finds some of the coolest older golf equipment. Right? He finds the old like the 8802s and alike.
Yep.
And this time he had one of the old. Remember the STX, or was they called stick putters?
Yeah,
the rubber face on
Baltimore. Yep.
Yep, and it shows him putting on his thing, and he's got one of those putt outs where it got the hole in there where you putt up and you go into the hole, and he makes like 4 in a row. And I'm like, dude, just stop. You're already there.
From a small world perspective, at one point, one of the guys who worked on the design of those putters, I hired him away from there to a different golf club company. So one of those guys actually worked for me for a number of years. So small world.
There we go. So Emmanuel says, apologies, I believe the Versa was not weight adjustable.
No, it is,
no sweat, brother. All righty. Cam saying, hope others will like it here. Give a sub, lots of great info. There we go. Here's a good question. Krister wants to know why doesn't more companies make one length irons?
Yeah, I can't speak for anyone else, and I'm not even sure. I'm probably not speaking for Callaway, but in general, it's supply and demand, right? The number, we all know of one club company who's made one length iron for several years. Now that a endorsement deal has ended, we'll see if they continue to do that. But just looking at sales data, it's a ton of work. Jim mentioned some of the reasons. It's not just cutting the shafts off. It is literally the pitching wedge would be the lightest pitching wedge you've ever hit, and your forehand will be the heaviest forehand you've ever hit. It's a completely new redesign, and to do it right takes a lot of R&D, a lot of effort, a lot of research, and for the companies who really do want to do things correctly, that's a ton of output for, unfortunately, very little input back in sales. So, I don't think they're dead, but dead meaning one length irons, but the sales conversion just hasn't been there. And I would also argue that I believe for almost every player, standard length irons are better. I think we've seen that. So I have nothing against them personally. I have hit them in the past, but not something I would ever consider playing, and not something I would ever actually recommend either.
There we go. Cam asks, will Callaway ever implement a loyalty program such as a trade-in, trade-up, or a point system to gain brand loyalty, or do they do that already? I think they do that already.
So interesting. We have a system called, and I kid you not, it's called trade-in, trade-up. That is the exact title of our system. So yeah, we do have trade-in, trade-up. Obviously, the values vary for different years and conditions and all that stuff. I don't know much about it other than we do factor it into some of our fitting programs out in the field. So we do have a trade-in, trade-up program. If everyone's not familiar with our used site, Callaway Pre-Owned, a lot of it winds up there. It's a great place if you want to try a shaft or a head from a year or two ago and maybe save a little money. It's a great option. So we've got a number of ways to do that, but we literally have a program, and it's called, I kid you not, trade-in ! trade up, exclamation point. So it's there already.
Robin uses that. Robin's an expert at that thing. She works
Good,
with
I'm
that
not.
program very, very well. All right. Joey says, thank you, Mr. Vrska, for coming in and talking with us. And
Very
for all
welcome.
and for all the great info, he says. All right, 2 more and we're going to call it because we went way longer, and Mr. Vrska has been more than helpful with his time. Maltby Longboarder. Why did Callaway release the TD3 driver but not the Sub-Zero like Paradym version 2 with the front weight and the sliding rear weight like they played like the one played Justin Rose to win at Pebble Beach?
Yeah, so the one that Justin played is what we call our Paradym Tour, and it is the exact same head as our standard Paradym. With the only difference is there's a 2 gram weight in the front, and it is much more right biased. So there's not a lot of call for that, meaning there's not a lot of consumers who need that golf club. We do make 3 different heads that are only available for the tour, and we do that. We don't. One, it'd be incredibly confusing for us to launch 6 drivers. That just wouldn't be reasonable in the field. And the number of players who need that driver is essentially 0 because we have that now. If you take the standard Paradym and what we call APW, the adjustable perimeter weighting, put that all the way in the toe, and you've got that same you've got the exact same driver, essentially the exact same driver set up where it has more right bias. So I know people love, for some reason, people always want the one club that they can't have. But in this case, you can essentially have the exact same trajectory, standard Paradym, APW all the way to the toe, and you'll get that right bias you're looking for that Justin Rose has. And I just saw what's in the bag of Justin today. Justin has the weight right in the center, so it's really true. He didn't even move it left or right. So it really is very much like our standard Paradym.
All right. Here's another one. We're just throwing the Callaway questions all over the planet. Alan Jeanette, I'm a huge fan of the Epic Super Hybrid. What was the learning experience from its successes and its faults?
Yeah, so
it's sitting in my bag right now.
Yeah, this one's pretty easy. Honestly, the only fault was, the number of people who put it in place of a fairway wood because it's such a rocket ship. That's really the only fault with it. The people who liked it didn't like it; they loved it. And we've had people, get the 17 and put it down to 16 and literally use it as a 3/4 wood. And we've had people put 3 different lofts in the bag. So, the faults are the only faults is, I think it might have damaged some fairway wood sales. That's the only thing that might have done from a fault perspective. People love it. It obviously is more expensive, but if you make it all titanium, you put the AI face, you put jailbreak technology, you put carbon fiber in there, put adjustability in there. It is really us throwing the kitchen sink from a technology standpoint at it. But it was tremendously successful, and nothing to announce now, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's something that's in the line, at some point again in the future, because it was so successful, and the people who have it absolutely love it. In fact, one of my really good friends who I played a ton of golf with, who has literally 180 ball speed with a driver, the next club in his bag is a 17-degree Super Hybrid. That's his only hybrid/fairway wood. And then he gets into long irons because he can really move the golf club, and it's really forgiving, and it goes forever, and it's easy to hit off the deck and easy to hit off the tee. So, yeah, when your only fault is you sell fewer 3 woods or 4 woods, it's a pretty good golf club.
That's what's sitting. I got 3 of them sitting in my bag. That's what I like, and that just happens. It booted everything out. My buddy keeps saying, "Why do you even hit the driver?"
Well, it's definitely, the driver is still much higher MOI and much easier to hit straighter. So yeah, but there is definite advantage. But honestly, though, again, those super hybrids, because they're titanium, you can just do some things you can't even do with the fairway wood and stainless steel. So it really is a great golf club.
Okay. So we're getting a lot here. Okay, we're down to the bottom. We got, again, Cam was asking about some lefty love and about some other stuff, and what he's more talking about is geared towards the Apex and maybe the TCBs. And the Apex do come in left-handed. We know that in the pros, but we just saw where the pros are starting to phase out, and the regular Apexes are still running around. When those are done, then I guess something else will pop up.
I would not be surprised by that.
And Cully Tolbert's wanting a neutral face or slightly open face in a 19-degree fairway wood. Do I take a 7 wood and gear down or a 5 wood and gear up?
So anytime, as a general rule of thumb, when you de-loft a golf club, the face opens. When you add loft to a golf club, the face closes. So that hopefully will help you there. If you're looking for specifically a 17, again, depending on what you want it to do there, we have Paradym, again, depending on the type of players you are. And if you're worried about the left miss, the Paradym Triple Diamond's a great option. Again, some adjustability there. You could go the 3 wood and add 2 degrees of loft to it. You could do the 5 wood and go down 1. Again, whatever. It's a great pitch for going to get fit and trying them before you do that.
There we go. All right, Mr. Vrska, please, thank you so very much for your time. We took an extra half an hour, and I think it was well worth it. A lot of questions got answered, and a lot of good Callaway questions, to be sure. And as always, guys, watch for the video tomorrow beyond what we were just talking about at the beginning of the show. And we appreciate it. And Mike, if you stay on just a second, we'll take care of this. And as always, guys, let's see your scores go low.